In communities across the country, hourly Amazon employees earn an average of over $23 an hour, with opportunities to grow their career and their paycheck. Learn more at aboutamazon.com.
And now it's time for No Pucks Given with Dan Kingerski of Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Penguin Scoops locker room buzz and straight-up analysis. No fluff, all hockey. Now, here's Dan.
Alrighty, we are live here in the hallowed halls of Pittsburgh Hockey Now's home studio. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski. It's the Penguins live chat. My apologies. I've just been running late all day for pretty much everything, and got the new setup going with the new microphone. But then as I hooked everything up, I realized that every time I talk, that thing would flash. And so I spent 5 minutes rehooking, like trying to change everything and get it all reconfigured and do all of that stuff. And then I realized that the lighting in here was pretty much absolutely terrible. It's just dark and gloomy outside, so I needed to hook up lighting, and you get the point. We're going to talk some Penguins hockey, and we're going to do that with you. So here's how the live chats work. In case you're a newbie, we're getting literally hundreds of subscribers per month. So it's basically an Ask Me Anything sort of deal. The topics we're going to hit. I didn't expect, when I scheduled this yesterday, I didn't expect to have to talk about holding a lead against an empty net, literally for a third straight game. However, the Tampa Bay game 3 games ago doesn't count on the score sheet, but I think for the purpose of our discussion, it certainly does. And I'm going to get into some micro things. I think I see some flaws with the Penguins that might need to change. Maybe it's, and I'm still, I haven't hit publish on the article yet, whether it's personnel or whether it is structural. I'm still kind of debating, and I've written the article, and I have to just finalize it. I should have hit publish before I did this live chat. Once again, the live chats are always just like the worst. Like I just need to do something else all the time. But we set aside the hour every week to keep the conversation going. So what we're going to talk about. Let's see here. Yeah, leads. We're going to talk about the fans last night, because at puck drop last night, there might have been like 9,000, maybe if we count a couple of heads twice, 10,000 fans in the building. That's brutal for a team in a playoff spot. Absolutely brutal. Unfortunately, the moment I start talking about attendance, I have to go through a roll call of every fan who wasn't there last night. Well, I need to pay a babysitter and I can't afford parking and I don't want to go down there on a Tuesday and get home at 11 o'clock. I don't like to do this. And I don't need a roll call of every individual fan who wasn't there. There are hundreds of thousands of you, and you got 9,000 in the building last night. So we're going to talk about that. I'm not going to I'm kind of tired of the, well, Kingerski doesn't understand. I have to work. And listen, I'm up at 6 a.m. too. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about some real trade talk. And that's going to sort of dovetail with the focus of what the Penguins should be over the next 53 games or so. Because we're getting to that point. There's always sort of 3 stages to the NHL season. There's Halloween, which, okay, time to really bear down. There's Thanksgiving, which everyone, it really has taken on a bigger significance from everybody else. And, you know, if you're in a playoff spot on Thanksgiving, you got like a 75, 77% chance of making the postseason at the end. And then you've got the Christmas break. After Christmas, after Hanukkah, it's all hands on deck, full go, right? Should I change the lighting? No, I don't like that red either. Too bright. Maybe a little better. I don't know. Maybe I should just turn it off and sit in darkness. My old friend. So we're getting to the point in the NHL season that it really is go time for the Penguins, for all teams. So we're going to talk about, not just the trade, but the focus, plus, of course, your comments. So here we go. In fact, before we do all of that, for producer Scott, I'm going to take a quick break for the podcast side. The video will continue, but on the Odyssey Podcast Network, we're going to take this quick break and come right back with everything that I talked about here on No Pucks Given. Alrighty, we are back on No Pucks Given. Those of you on the video side are like, what's going on? But I appreciate those of you on the podcast side staying with us. So topic 1, holding leads. And I'm still working with the new software. I like it much better. But I haven't yet necessarily figured out how to upload everything I want to upload and show you everything I want to show you. So I'm just going to sort of do a screen share. Last night, the Dallas Stars, of course, scored with 0.1 seconds. Or not that. The Anaheim Ducks scored with 0.1 seconds. That was a cluster unto itself. Between Chris Letang getting walked, between Erik-Karlsson lunging off of, diving off of his feet instead of just making a simple stick check, and then slapping the puck into his own net. That was a special set of circumstances, none of which should have happened. But the Dallas game on Sunday, I thought that was far more indicative of the Penguins' structure and maybe a little bit of structural, what's the opposite of integrity? So here we go. Here's right before Heiskanen lets it rip. Now, you see Noel Acciari has the point covered. Blake Lizotte is a little bit in no man's land there in the middle. But nevertheless, he's ready to fall back to take any rebounds. He's kind of protecting the slot. You're okay with a point shot, really. And Connor Dewar has Mikko Rantanen there in the right circle. Now, Dumba is sort of not quite at the net. If you saw the video, he's actually facing the wall and number 24 there. Is that Wyatt Johnston? Jamie Benn is in the crease. 2 players, in fact, are in the crease. And so is Ryan Graves. And Heiskanen lets it go. 3 players screening. Now, this is where I question structural or I question personnel. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen here as soon as I figure out exactly, there we go, how to do that. Ryan Graves has to do a better job in that moment of getting Tristan Jarry's eyes clear. If you watch the video, Graves even tried to block the shot at the last second, sort of, but still fronted the shot without getting a piece of it. There was no way Tristan Jarry could have seen through Ryan Graves. He kind of just had to be in position and hope the shot hit him. So Graves needed to do a better job of pushing one or the other away from Tristan Jarry. The other structural thing is, how are the Penguins outnumbered in the dirty area? At that point, Matt Dumba has to help out near the cage because there are 3 guys there. You can allow the guy in the circle if you're taking care of the net front in that moment anyway. And then you have to, you kind of have to scamper back and forth a little bit. I think it's both structural and personnel on that one. But if you go back through Tampa Bay, once again, you have to understand the Penguins' system is man-to-man down low. If you go back to Tampa Bay, again, several people really weren't covering their man. And they left the middle of the ice. You could have driven a Mack truck through the passing lane, which eventually led to Nikita Kucherov. You can't leave a passing lane to Nikita Kucherov. You're going to get burned on that 3-4 of 10 times. And Kucherov made a wicked shot that actually hit the post at such an odd angle. It almost looked like it hit the outside of the post and doubled in. What are you going to do sometimes? That didn't count. So I know fans were kind of hopping mad last night at Dan Muse for having Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson on the ice at the same time. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and probably tepidly agree with the fans on that one. I certainly, that would not be my choice for the final 17 seconds, power play or no. Now, I'm going to give you the other side of the story here so that you can sort of make your own informed opinion rather than a knee-jerk. What Muse said regarding Tuesday against Anaheim and why Letang and Karlsson were there was quite simply that if they have puck possession, the goalie can't come out of the net, the game is over. He knew that Anaheim was going to basically bum rush the defenseman after the face-off, and he wanted a couple of guys with good sticks, good offensive instincts, puck-moving skills to be able to handle that. Probably his two best skating defensemen as well. It's like, okay. On paper, it makes complete sense. You don't expect Chris Letang to chase a shadow at the blue or just inside the blue line. And you don't expect Erik Karlsson to knock the puck into his own net with his hand. You don't expect those sorts of things. But that's exactly what happened. Now, one of our readers, Josh, tweeted at me this morning that, in fact, this has happened before. Game 2 of the season, Karlsson and Letang gave up a high danger chance in the final 2 or 3 seconds of the game, which I believe it was Jari that made the save, and the Penguins survived. Now, I don't think Muse will go back to this well again. Whether you have Karlsson and Wotherspoon, Shea and Letang, either way, I don't see Karlsson, Letang being out there again. Muse is not a stubborn guy, I don't think. I don't see that in him, wherein he's going to just keep pounding square pegs and round holes. All right, so that's kind of the leads thing that I'm working on. Personnel does have to do a better job, first and foremost. But I'm wondering if there is something structural where the Penguins playing man-to-man down low and zone up high is bad news for them in that situation where there's an extra attacker. Because if you're playing man-to-man down low, that means somebody is kind of wide open. In Dallas's case, the wide open guy was in the crease. Maybe Tristan Jarry should have cross-checked him and claimed goalie interference. I don't know. So that's what I'm working on this afternoon for Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Do me a favor. Always go check out PHN. Let me take a couple of questions here. There we go. Big Joe. Hey, Dan, with as good...
In communities across the country, hourly Amazon employees earn an average of over $23 an hour, with opportunities to grow their career and their paycheck. Learn more at aboutamazon.com.
Just turn this stupid light off. Yeah, it's probably better that way anyway. Let's see here. With as good of a job as Muse has done, he has sent out some questionable line combos and D combos at the end of the games. Does that concern you at all? I see the microphone reflecting off of my neck. Okay, let me turn it a little bit there. Okay. Also, I'd rather see Boko or Sam Poulin over Danton Heinen. Well, boy, you tossed a few grenades at me there. I have no issue with the line combinations. I mean, the fourth line got victimized in Dallas. That's the line you want out there. So from that standpoint, no, absolutely not. No concerns over the forwards utilization there. The D pair, listen, I know you're talking about Karlsson Letang, but maybe I answered a bit of that. I don't think he would do that. I mean, listen, maybe he got too smart. Maybe he outsmarted himself a little bit on Tuesday. The thing about Muse is he'll watch that video. He'll watch it 1,000 times, actually. He'll wear out the keyboard buttons backwards, forwards, backward, watching that goal. So, no, I mean, look, we're 28 games into a guy's tenure. No concerns about that whatsoever. The funny thing is, Joe, the underpinning of your question, going to Dan Muse, is that he is unencumbered by the past. He doesn't have all of Chris Letang's baggage or Erik Karlsson's baggage. He's fresh. He's allowing them to be fresh. And to that point, he's making decisions that make sense. If he were maybe encumbered by the baggage, I suppose he wouldn't have made that decision last night. I can't see the former coach making that call, but the former coach was encumbered by the past. So take your pick. Human beings are imperfect, I suppose. Let's go to Zachary. Is it a coincidence that they were closing games out well in October before the injuries? Now they're blowing them again like last year. I know players came back, but it seems like that Toronto game shifted. I'm not sure. Zach, I think you're picking up apples and oranges and trying to make a fruit salad there that I'm just not following. Listen, don't forget, they were also having trouble closing out games in October too. They were giving up late goals in October. Every team in the NHL actually is. The number of teams that have given up 3 or more goals against the empty net, I think it's 10 or 12. The Penguins are 10th. They've given up 3. They're tied for third place, and they are 10th. Yeah, there are 12 or so teams that have given up 3 or more against the empty net. So from that standpoint, the Penguins are not dramatically different than everybody else. I just think it really is under scrutiny because they're losing in extra time so terribly, 1-7. And it has happened in a spate, so it is really worth examining. But coincidence? Are you telling me that Justin Brazeau and Ricard Raquel are in some way tied to this empty net thing going on? I'm going to go ahead and say no. Let's see. Let's go to Loganexor. I don't know. Log. All of these missed points are going to start adding up and cost us late in the season if we don't fix the issues quickly. Log, I didn't realize you were playing. What number are you? The we. You fooled me there. Well, yeah, they know that too. There's no question. Look, they've gone to overtime 8 times. They've won once. Let's just say they won 4 of the 8 games. What would 6 points mean? First place in the Metro Division. That's what it would mean. So yeah, believe me, they are well aware. All right, now at the 20-minute mark, we're going to shift gears a little bit here, and I'm going to get into, I think that's a good springboard to get into the second topic we're going to talk about on the live chat here, and that is, what is the real focus of the team for the next 53 games? Is it the playoffs? And I'm going to tell you straight up, for the coach down to the 13th forward, absolutely. That is the goal. Win every night, make the playoffs. They're not thinking about rebuilding or getting young players in the lineup. They're thinking about playing their best game and winning. What is Kyle Dubas thinking? However, I think that is where there's going to be, for the second or maybe even the third straight season, a little bit of a schism here between the Penguins and Dubas. Yes, the Edmonton Oilers called about Tristan Jarry, and there was some interest, but the reality is Edmonton has not enough salary cap space to buy a free lunch, and no, the Penguins are not going to help them out by eating part of Tristan Jarry's salary, unless the return more than made up for it. They just don't want to do it. They don't have any reason to do it. Unless you're one of those Tristan Jarry haters who just like, trade him now before he stinks. I don't really have time to fight that stuff. We're just moving past it as fast as we possibly can. The Penguins have a pretty good goalie, and they're going to hang on to him unless some team pries him out of their hands, full stop. However, as I say that, the Montreal Canadiens just might be that team that could. They've got salary cap space. They've got younger players. And they've got 2 goalies right now who couldn't catch a cold. What do? They called up a 21-year-old, their next goalie prospect, and they're hoping Jacob Fowler, can right the ship. That's an awful lot to ask of a rookie, unless we're going 1985 on the Canadiens. That was Patrick Waugh's rookie year, by the way. He won the Stanley Cup. I digress. What I think I see evolving with Kyle Dubas is very much this. He is building for the future and allowing the team to play for the present. And there's just going to be an unbridged chasm between those two objectives. And he's allowing the team to do so. And they're going to deal with whatever he does at the top. The one trade I do see being very possible, becoming more possible, and that is Rickard Rakell. Without Rakell in the lineup, the Penguins really haven't missed a beat. Not offensively, not defensively. Tommy Novak has played the last 2 games really well. I don't know if it's sustainable. We're going to find out if that's sustainable. We're going to have time to find that out because Rakell is probably a couple of weeks away. He was kind of full contact, full go at the morning skate on Tuesday. But as Dan Muse noted, there's not a lot of contact in a pregame skate. When he's full go, full contact, full drills in practice, then the clock starts to his return. But as of last Thursday, or maybe it was Wednesday night, Kyle Dubas, in fact, said that Rakell was 3 or maybe 4 weeks away from returning. Of course, he also said Justin Brazeau and Noah Chari were 7 to 10 days away from returning, and they returned in 3 days. Go figure. But I think it's maybe important as you look at the Penguins' current position in a playoff spot, several games in hand on the teams chasing them. Even though these loser points really stink and they leave a sour taste like sucking on a giant lemon, still a point. And they're just staying at, like, that's a 500 night when you get that 1 point. They do have to win some games. There's just no question about that. In terms of actual wins, the Penguins are 15th in the league. They're in the middle of the pack in terms of actually winning those games. Their focus is ahead of them, while Dubas' focus is way ahead. I do see Montreal being one of those teams. You want to talk trades, you want to talk what teams make sense. I don't think Edmonton really does. Edmonton would not part with the young players the Penguins would want in order to get Tristan Jarry back to Alberta. Edmonton would be crazy to deal the prospects that Kyle Dubas is going to ask for. We're talking, the Isaac Howard, the Savoys, so on and so forth. And Savoy is also a bit of a polarizing prospect to begin with. There are a lot of scouts who don't think he's an NHL player, not going to be. The Penguins had a chance to get Isaac Howard and didn't beat Edmonton's offer to Tampa Bay. So you tell me what that might shake out like. Montreal, on the other hand, has a plethora of prospects and young players. That would be like sending Kyle Dubas to the candy store with $5 in his pocket. If he were a kid, you know what I mean. All right, so that was, I think, the one topic I really wanted to lay down first before I got to a few more questions. Let's get to him. If they start to fizzle out, I hope they commit to it. You don't need to win the lottery to get a very good player. McKenna is good, but so are Verhoff, Stenberg, Lawrence, so on and so forth. Yeah, but let me ask you a question. Let me ask you guys a question. Because just because they have lost a couple of shootouts in a row, does that mean they're fizzling out? I know it's an L in the column, or actually, it's actually an OTL that pays out. Do you think they're fizzling out? They put 48 shots on Anaheim Tuesday, 40 in regulation. Now, Erik Karlsson said it more directly. Dan Muse sort of tiptoed around it a little bit. I wonder if I can play you Erik Karlsson's audio. Let me see here. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can pull this off. So bear with me. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We're just going to try something here. I have a transcription, because obviously, it helps me write faster, and I get, a 1,500 word report card out the door in 75 minutes, which, I have to start that from scratch after the game because it seems like the Penguins are always changing things. The narrative and the storylines change by the final horns. Let's see if I can get Erik Karlsson's audio to you. When I asked him, okay, you guys had a lot of chances. What did you have to do more of to get a few more pucks across the line? And here's Erik Karlsson. Oh, let me turn up the volume. Here, let's try this out.
Yeah, good question.
Try.
I think we do a good job in controlling the puck, and tiring now. It's hard to defend when you're tired. We all know that, and maybe get a little bit more traffic in front of the net, and get a few more dirty goals instead of shots from the perimeter with no one in front. And need a perfect shot for it to go in. So maybe create a little bit more chaos by the time that the Blues gets tired and we're controlling play, and it's looking good sometimes, but it doesn't really generate.
All right. So how did that work? Did that? Could you hear that? Well, what he's basically saying is we're being too pretty on the perimeter. Dan Muse has what the wording Muse has used is not doing enough with our chances. When we have possession and ozone time, sometimes we're not doing enough. I thought the Penguins, especially the third line last night, especially the third line, was really getting the puck to the net, in the crease, creating chaos and havoc. Would you like to know a crazy stat? I just pulled this up off of Natural Stat Trick, writing the article before we went live on the show. Do you know the Penguins line all season combined, all the minutes they've played, the Penguins line combination that has created the most rebound chances? Rutger McGroarty, Ben Kindle, and Ville Koivunen. In 35 minutes, the kids' line has created 13 rebounds. The next best line is Mantha, Malkin, Brazeau. In 127 minutes, they've created 11 rebound chances. The third best line? You're gonna be shocked by this. The third best Penguins line to create rebounds. Sidney Crosby's lines? Nope, not even close. The fourth line? Nope, not even close. The third best in 38 minutes was Ben Kindle centering Tommy Novak and Philip Hollander. Hollander. Can you believe that? 38 minutes, that line created 9 rebounds. So I suppose Ben Kindle is the most prolific in terms of getting to the net, getting the puck to the net, and a few more with some luck, with some finishing on the wingers. Kindle might have a boatload of points. I'll tell you what, last night, McGroarty was just hammering that puck, trying to pound it through Husso. He must have had 3-4 whacks at a couple of those. Pound. Could not get it.
To remind you that 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers, here's John from Devil Dog Pet Company.
We run our family business from Sterling Heights, Michigan, but we can reach customers all over the country thanks to Amazon. Good boy.
Shop small business on Amazon.
Through. Okay, wow. There's a lot of questions coming in. I'm just going to go rapid fire now. Let's see here. 33-30. We're going rapid fire on the questions. What exactly happened to Evgeny Malkin? He played great, finished the game. Now he's on IR. Ken, are you new? Are you new here, Ken? All right. You're good, right? This is hockey, right? They don't let any information out regarding injuries. 0.0. They don't want us to know if it's a hangnail, if it's a broken foot, if it's his knee got turned backwards, hip. They don't want us to know anything. Actually, I guess Malkin has an upper body injury, so elbow, head, whatever it might be, no idea. Saw him at the rink on Saturday. He was in workout gear talking to Sergei Gonchar, who lives in Dallas, and popped over to say hello to the boys. And that was, I asked Dan Muse even after the Saturday practice, hey, is Evgeny Malkin available to you tomorrow? And he's like, it was a maintenance day. Well, yeah, maintenance day became day to day, became week to week. I have no idea, to be honest. Randy says, I really thought they would have given Kindle a shot for the shootout. I think we're getting there. I think Muse has to know. he has to look at the numbers that Crosby, Letang, Rust have just been ice cold over a few years now. Whether it's because goalies have seen their best moves, Crosby going way left and the tight stick handle, Letang's backhand deke. Rust likes to get a little speed and try to pick a corner. Whatever it might be, I guess the fact that I know this stuff, the goalies probably do too. So yeah, I think you'll see more Koivunen and Kindle. I think you might even see Sam Poulin draw into the lineup because Poulin has a really good shootout rate down in Wilkes-Barre. Yeah, something has to give. See, Anthony says, to me, the biggest culprit last night on the tying goal with less than 1 second left was Chris Letang. He is just plain awful and has been for 2+ years. He needs to be benched. 3 exclamation points, says Anthony. Bench him, bench him, bench him, bench him. Letang's actually been pretty good the last few games. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, look, none of the defensemen were very good in Dallas, but Letang was the best of the bunch. As I talked about coaches being encumbered by the past, maybe some of you are a little bit too, eh? Anthony follows it up. He gets a rebound shot. I'm being serious. Can you please tell me what Chris Letang brings to this team right now? Well, he's one of their 4 best defensemen. That's what he brings. Zachary, I'm not understanding why Mantha is getting power play 1 time. This team desperately misses Malkin on the power play. Well, Mantha did score the power play goal last night, and it's not like Mantha is supplanting Evgeny Malkin on PP1. I'm unsure of your question. Look, Mantha's had a pretty good year. I mean, he's been ice cold in the last 10 games, really ice cold. Prior to that, he was going to the net. He was creating. Listen, he's got good hands. He's got good size. Sure, the power play, even with Mantha in place of Malkin, has scored some goals. What are you complaining about here? Let's go to Sonny. Mike Sullivan had a game plan in mind and expected the players to adapt their talents to it, whereas Dan Muse looks at the players' talents and develops his game plan. Do you agree? Well, I'll agree on the latter. I've talked to Dan Muse about this. Hopefully you read the one-on-one we did with him a few weeks ago where we actually got to sit down in the Penguins offices for a good 15 minutes and talk hockey and coaching philosophy and all of those sorts of things. You didn't read it, did you? You didn't read it. I've asked him publicly too. It's some of the pressers and scrums and written about it. Muse sat down with a ton of videotape to create what he thought would work for this Penguins team. And I think he's done a great job at that. I will also tell you that Mike Sullivan did the same thing. Mike Sullivan had a different philosophy, however. Sullivan might have been caught kind of expecting the Penguins to be the same Penguins, the stretched out offense with the stretch passes and the home run offensive scheme. And for whatever reason, and Sullivan is not the kind of guy I could have asked the question of, because he would have just given me, one of those, I'm not talking about that, or I don't know what you're asking sort of replies. But there were a good 6-8 weeks last season, that November-December run, in which the Penguins were essentially in a 1-3-1, creating a ton of neutral zone traffic, counterattacking, and they were stacking wins like nobody's business. That was when they got back in the playoff race. Remember, were they not in a playoff spot in late December coming out of the break? Yet they didn't stick to it. They went back to, in my opinion, an overly aggressive forecheck for which the team used to be suited. but was no longer. Visuals pop in my head of like Sidney Crosby or Brian Rust getting in on the forecheck just a heartbeat too late and watching the play go the other way, not necessarily with numbers, but with speed. And the Penguins were better when they set up the layers through the neutral zone and took away the other team's speed and ground and pounded away in the corners. So I'm not going to say Mike Sullivan had a game plan to try to adapt the players to, but I will say that I certainly think in the last couple of years, especially, his philosophy and what he thought the team could do were a bit incongruent. Make sense? We're going to get on the Letang wagon here today, aren't we? I love Letang, but way too many costly mistakes year after year. Something needs to change there. He's 38. You're going to make changes with his game now? Let's go to Glenn Stapp. What is going on? Oh my, I wonder what was going on. This whole thing the whole rig just broke. This is the Murphy's Law. Okay, Glenn says, if we are giving young guys the opportunity to develop with this year's Penguins, what? And their answer, okay, they are answering the call. I would like to see them also being given a chance in these game-winning situations. Well, are you talking about the shootout? You want to see young players in the shootout? Are you talking about the final shifts of the game? Do you want to see Ben Kindle's line out there? Because they have been. They were out there against Dallas in the final few minutes. Glenn, I think you're getting what you want, actually. Oh, Glenn then follows it up, especially in the shootout. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's coming. I mean, come on. You're a coach. You look down the bench and you see Sidney Crosby, Chris Letang. Your first inclination, your natural instinct is going to be to put them in the shootout and assume that they're going to score. Okay, they didn't score the last few. They're going to score on this one. They're going to score. It has to feel like you're betting with the odds in your favor. And it just, to this point, it has not. And I'm looking, I don't know how this thing broke. All right, Log says, why do we keep sending Boko back down? I feel he brings something we need to this team, but also I could be completely wrong. So take statistics out of it, Log. And I know why you like Boko. It's the same reason they like Boko. It's the same reason we all like Boko and Mama. The same reason that we all voted him the Penguins Masterton nominee last season. And he brings a tough element. But what you have to sort of look at the bigger picture here, all those little other things in the game. Penalty killing. I mean, just look, the fourth line has now scored goals in consecutive games since Noel Acciari returned. As Boko has improved his game significantly, and there very well could be a place for him as the 13th forward. But let's not elevate him beyond his station here and say that he's better than Noel Acciari or Connor Dewar or Ville Koivunen or Rutger McGroarty, where you play in the bottom six. So I get what you're saying. Just kind of keep it in the right perspective there. Let's go to Randy. Thoughts on moving up Kindle to the second line center? Maybe call up Bros to take third line center. I don't know what they have against Bros. The second line with Kevin Hayes in the middle has not been as good, has it? Not been as good as the third line. That's for sure. So I quite don't know what to say about that. It makes sense to me. I've advocated it before. If they were to trade Raquel, before I realized Tommy Novak might be able to play on the top line, I definitely advocated for Kindle to and Bros at 3. There's merit to it. I don't know how all the puzzle pieces would fit, but there's merit to the general idea. Let's go to Moose. If this team could put more pucks in the net down the lineup, we wouldn't be talking about collapses. 1 to 2 goals is not a winning game plan. Well, that's true. If we scored more goals, we'd win more games. Yeah, I mean, look, the third line. I tweeted this last night, and I mean it. The third line is as snake-bitten as I've ever seen 3 players. They are facing Dominik Hasek on every single shift. They are facing Patrick Waugh, Andrei Vasilevsky. I can't tell you how many times Ville Koivunen in the last handful of games has made a very good shot on net, only to see a great save against him. There's probably 3, 4, if not a handful of times in the last few games, Koivunen should have scored and did everything you would ask. Good shot, good location, both on the ice and good location of the shot, and didn't get anything. Rutger McGroarty has been pounding away at the puck in the crease. And there seems to be a plexiglass barrier that's like, no goal. I can't explain what I'm seeing with the third line. So many chances, doing the right things, making good shots, and they're not getting goals. It's crazy. They're going to get a bunch in a hurry as the hockey gods make good here. It's building. They're building credit with the hockey gods. But I don't think you can expect Anthony Mantha, Kevin Hayes, Justin Brazeau to be a true second line. That's a stopgap if there ever was a stopgap line. So there's just not much you can do about that unless you do some wholesale changes like the Kindle and the Bros and all of that sort of stuff. Zachary says, is it time to give Blomqvist a try at backup goalie? Shilovs is still guessing and is not calm in his crease. Sprawling out on that last goal made no sense. No. I think if I explain it too in depth, I think you'll start to pick apart my response. So I'm just going to say no. Shilovs allowed 2 goals last night and had a third swatted into his net by his own defenseman. What else do you want me to say? I mean, look, Shilovs has some flaws. This near refusal to cover pucks around the net is kind of odd to me. In fact, it's very odd to me. But he's stopping the biscuit. Like, he stopped it last night. He really reversed a terrible 6-game trend. Ozymandias joins us here. I've been more impressed with Karlsson than at any time during his tenure. That said, after last night, I think if the offer comes and he would waive his no movement clause, I'd deal him. Wouldn't deal Jari at all. Let me kind of say something to you here, Ozzy, about that. Think about this now. I want you to go back to the summer. All of the rumored teams who were interested or might be able to deal for Erik Karlsson, might have an interest. They are all below the Penguins in the standings. So if you're Erik Karlsson and winning is a priority, you're looking like, hey, we kind of have the potential for something special here in Pittsburgh. I like the city. I like playing with Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. I like this new coach. All of those things are true, by the way. I sort of like my situation. Why would you accept a trade to a team that is fighting to make the playoffs, is out of the playoffs? Like, why would you accept that trade to Detroit? Or I suppose Ottawa is indeed ahead of the Penguins. But the Penguins are right there with them. So, yeah, I don't see an Erik Karlsson trade this season unless the Penguins were to implode and fall out. Let's get to somebody new here. More hockey cards, please. They're playing good hockey. Everyone needs to relax. There is something to be said for that as well. Log comes back. I don't think they are fizzling out. I just think there is a lack of connection at times with the team. Yeah, the injuries have been a bit more devastating to the Penguins because they are not necessarily a deep team. They're still built on Crosby and Malkin. And so when you take one of those guys out, and we talked about this early in the season, you weren't going to see Justin Brazeau score 40 goals. Probably not even 30. A good season for him would be to get to 20. And he's just getting back. He's getting his legs, he's getting his rhythm and his timing and all of that. He's played a couple of games. It's just, you're right. There is a bit of a disconnection here. When does Raquel return? As we talked about a little bit earlier, Kyle Dubas said last week, 3 to 4 weeks. Although he was a full go yesterday. Ozzy comes back. They're playing well. Anyone who is hung up on this being a lottery team isn't paying attention. Also, McKenna isn't going to be an instant impact at the NHL level like some believed. I don't know. I think McKenna is probably more Connor Bedard than Macklin Celebrini. That's not exactly a bad thing. Dick says, I don't understand bringing up Heinen over Bros.
To remind you that 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers, here's John from Devil Dog Pet Company.
We run our family business from Sterling Heights, Michigan, but we can reach customers all over the country thanks to Amazon. Good boy.
Shop small business on Amazon.
I would agree. Okay, good. The Erik Karlsson stuff was audible. Malkin being out week to week, then the Olympic break. He shouldn't be tired the last 30 games of the season. Let's see here. Did Bros make a bad bald joke to Muse or something, trying to figure out why he isn't here over Heinen, especially with the shootout woes? This is me. This is my spidey sense, okay? Take this for what you will. My spidey sense was tingling yesterday after the morning skate when Dan Muse sort of talked about why Danton Heinen and Sam Poulin were the right choices to bring up. And he kind of got into the fact that we have options. Like, oh, interesting. Like, there are other players we could bring up. So what he was essentially saying was, yeah, we very well might call up Tristan Bros very shortly if Danton Heinen doesn't work out as a fourth line center or whatnot. By the way, Danton Heinen kind of did work out as the fourth line center last night. That fourth line goal, although that was sort of Noel Acciari's doing. Nevertheless, the fourth line had the puck in the offensive zone. So was Heinen bad? No. Certainly, though, with the shootout, I think you would want Tristan Bros. And it's not out of the realm of possibility because the Muse opened the door already. Put Karlsson in the shootout, says Naz. Robert, here's somebody new. When you look at the points percentage for the Pens, they have the third best point percentage so far this season, behind only Washington and Carolina in the Eastern Conference. I think that might have changed after last night, Robert, but that was definitely true a day or so ago. They just have to, honest to goodness, have to figure out this overtime thing. Whether it's playing Noel Acciari and Blake Lizotte, whether it's sending all, two of the three guys to tackle the goalie and hold him down while Sidney Crosby shoots into the empty net and hope they don't call a penalty. I don't know the answer to it. I would love to be able to give you some smart hockey analysis from myself or insights from other hockey people. The reality is, for whatever reason, and no one really can understand it or put their finger on it. Obviously, if they could, they would. It's just not working for the Penguins. Letang, playing 38 years old, playing top 4 minutes, still the second best defenseman on the team, is not a good thing. I'm going to take his age off of it. I mean, look, defensemen are hard to come by in this league. Good defensemen. This is why you don't see good defensemen traded. Tell me the last time you saw a really good defenseman traded. Several years ago when Vegas started cleaning up, Noah Hannafin and Shea Theodore. I mean, that's the only defense trades I can think of. I mean, Dougie Hamilton has changed hands a couple of times, but he's a little bit of a polarizing guy. The Islanders traded Noah Dobson in part because they were getting Matthew Schaefer, and Noah Dobson had one great year. The Islanders cashed in on that. You don't see defensemen moving very often. Nas says, isn't Novak the third line center? Well, second now. No. Novak is playing on the wing with Sidney Crosby. Nas, come on, man, keep up with me. Moose, some of Sheloff's interview answers about his rebounds and shootout performance suggest that he's in denial about some of his flaws. Is this a good characteristic for a goalie, or is this a red flag? Well, I haven't written anything about that. And I will tell you, being there firsthand, I thought that Shelov's answers about rebound control were entirely misinterpreted. I don't think it was discussed in the manner in which he meant it. How's that? So I'm going to take that one off the board. And look, he did stop 1 of 2 last night. If his team gives him 1 goal, he's got a chance to stop a second one. But because his team only scored none, he didn't get a chance, to face a third one. Now, if the Penguins do score a goal and he gives up 2 of 3, then I think this would be a bit more relevant. He stopped 1 of 2, and the team went 0 for 3. That's your deal. All right, I'm going to go to the bottom here, and we're going to work our way up, looking for some new blood here. Glenn's only had 1 jump in here. Dan Muse has done a great job with line combinations despite injuries. Also, think the staggered starts with goaltenders benefits. Jari, as far as the workload, what tweaks might you make, if any? Oh, man. No, I mean, I think we've talked about the Kindle to the second line center, Tristan Brose there at the third line. That I would probably like to see. I was chuckling. I dismissed Tommy Novak on the second line before, or the first line rather, before it even happened. Novak and Malkin, there were numbers that said it worked. There were 2 eyes that said it didn't. I don't know. I tend not to try to ride shotgun with the coach, any coach, because that's kind of not my job, right? My job isn't to say what a coach should do very often. I mean, look, when I think there's something, a bad trend or decisions being made, I can say, okay, that's not, but I'm not going to be the headlights for the head coach and try to drive out front of them, because first of all, they have a whole lot more information than I do. I would expect any NHL coach to be a lot smarter than me. So that's kind of how I approach that. And that's all I got to say about that. Well, that's 58 minutes, kids. I've had a blast, but I don't want to sit here and hold the microphone. Also, we're repping Greendale Community College today. And for my boy Lando, little wrist check there, I've got my Tag F1 watch on. Lando paid his dues. I thought for sure something was going to go wrong. I thought for sure the F1 stewards were going to punish Lando for passing Yuki Tsunoda off the track and try to give the championship to Max. But with those new cars next year, not having as much downforce, Max Verstappen's going to be a beast next year. But you didn't come here for F1 talk. That's it, kids. I appreciate every single one of you. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. In the meantime,
I need a job with a steady paycheck.
I need a job that offers health care on day one for me and my kids.
I want a job where I can get certified in technical roles, like robotics or software engineering.
In communities across the country, hourly Amazon employees earn an average of over $23 an hour, with opportunities to grow their skills and their paycheck by enrolling in free skills training programs and apprenticeships. Learn more at aboutamazon.com.